All right, fans, welcome to the Sunday Morning Cornerman. This week I am joined by Coach Mark Henry, who is a profound coach indeed. He's Coach Frankie Edgar. He coached Cory Anderson to victory last night. Coach, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. So that's where I want to get started. Let's talk about Cory Anderson from last night. So it looked early on like it was Tom Lawler's fight. First, let me ask you, was Cory rocked at all in the first?
Yeah, I think Lawler, man, he hits really hard. He knocked out Delonte, with a nice shot a couple fights before that. So he's got a lot of power, and he definitely caught Cory good coming in.
So, in being his coach, how do you guys sort of make the adjustments as you're going? Because obviously he turned the fight around. It was a different fight from the second half of the second round all the way till the end. So what sort of adjustments do you know, or do you make where you go to yourself, okay, this guy can hit hard. How do we do what we got to do? It seemed like he started working the jab more.
Yeah, well, the problem was Cory, when you were the southpaw, you want to try to keep your foot on the outside of his right foot, your left foot on the outside of his right foot. And, it's one of the main things we go over. And Cory's foot was inside, so he was easier to get countered by coming in, and he was also catching him with that with a straight left counter. So when we went to the corner, we adjusted for him to kind of follow where his head was going to be, so he couldn't slip off on it, and to make sure that he stayed on the outside of his foot, and to make sure that his left hand was up when he threw the right, and to kick his leg a little bit. So. And Cory listens very, very good. So, even it really wasn't even the after the first round. It was like kind of middle first round, where we yelled out to him, and he was listening a lot better. And because we're pretty much, we like to do things during the fight. We think it's important because sometimes you don't even make it to the corner if you can't make adjustments when something's going wrong. You don't even make it to the corner for the bring out the bucket. So, because your guy could be knocked out, so we really try hard to be able to have languages that we could speak to our fighters in different codes and stuff, and make it. We with our fighters, we're at all the sparring, so they get a lot of attention, so they're used to adjustments during the fight, which I think is more important than in between rounds, because if you don't do it during and while it's going on, it could be too late.
There might not be an in between rounds. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Cory looked great, and you're starting to see a lot of the maturation of him as Lawler's the kind of guy who you beat Lawler, another guy, and before you know it, you're in the top 10. So great for Cory. I want to touch briefly on the other fights just to kind of get your thoughts because they were huge fights. So I don't want to dig too deep into the weeds with them, but first give me your thoughts on Holm and Miesha Tate.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Miesha Tate was going to be a tough fight because, she's a wrestler, and Holly, in her first two fights, I'd say more her first one, the girl was kind of, I don't know if so much grappling, but she clinched a lot more, and Holly's first fight was kind of tough. And, so I thought Miesha was going to be a way more hard opponent than Ronda, because Ronda never shoots. She just clinches, and Holly's good in the clinch because Holly's used to, boxers are used to clinching. Muay Thai fighter, Holly has a really good kickboxing game, which she gets from an amazing coach at Winklejohn. So she already knows how to clinch and things of that nature. And Holly's just as big as Ronda. I think Ronda's fought so many girls that aren't as big or aren't as strong, so Holly's just as big and strong. So you can't just you see in men's in the men's division, not many guys get tossed that easy, and that's because guys have a lot of strength. It's hard to just toss somebody, and same thing with Ronda. When Ronda grabs Holly, Holly's strong, and and she's used to clinching from boxing, so it's not that easy to just toss her.
Yeah, we'll get to your guy Frankie in a second, but I want to talk about Miesha just one more second, and the difference being that and it was compared last night on the broadcast, Miesha Tate and Frankie Edgar. Do you see a lot similarities between the two of them? Obviously, you know Frankie better than anybody. just in their resilience, because it's the resilience really that won Misha the fight, right?
Yeah, the resilience, but I really, besides that, I don't see comparisons like, with,
Stylistically, yeah, I don't agree. I don't think so either.
yeah, with their hand speed and stuff like that. It's, you know, but Misha definitely, Misha's a warrior. She had a ton of heart. I thought she was going to be a serious problem myself in that fight because of those factors and because of the wrestling and the grappling. I thought only because of the first two fights I saw from Holly. I think if Holly had a lot of moments with Misha that she was using the same movement that she was using with Ronda, and I think that's when Holly was doing really good. I think if Holly would have fought the same way that she fought Ronda with beautiful movement and feints and stuff like that, I think she would have. I don't think it would have even been close. Not that it even when it really wasn't almost that close. Except for that one round. Holly, was doing. It was kind of one-sided, but I don't even think she would have got closer if she would have kept that movement the whole entire fight. Like I said, the spots that she did do it, I thought were her best moments in the fight when she was moving like she did with Ronda.
I agree. All right, let's talk about Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz real quick. So Frankie actually seemed very excited when Conor lost. I mean, my thought on it was that means Conor's coming back to 145. So, but he didn't. The thing that I like about Frankie is that it doesn't seem like he was preoccupied with being the guy that beat Conor. He seems like he's looking for the belt. So talk briefly about Conor and Nate last night, and then how that affects Frankie.
I don't know. I think I think Frankie was gonna fight Aldo for the title. Even Dana said it. I think Conor was gonna fight for the 170 belt, and it was gonna be Frankie versus Jose. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. If they're gonna give it to Jose, or they're gonna give Frankie. I definitely think Frankie deserves it a lot more. He already he beat Aldo in 13 seconds. I don't know why he can't fight Frankie. I don't want to hit on Conor either because he just went through the loss he did. But just the way he talks about Frankie after the fight, like I think he's insane. Like that, I think he's looking through one-way goggles or something because I think he's very, very, very disoriented. I don't know if it's when Nate hit him or what, but the way he talks about Frankie and saying that, first he says that, he went up 2 weight classes. He didn't go up 2 weight classes. He fought a 55er, and Frankie's dominating the 55-pound class. And Nate's been fighting longer than Frankie in the UFC. So, Frankie dominated that class. He couldn't get past his first guy. You know what I'm saying? And Nate's phenomenal, but, he couldn't even get past the first 55er that he's fighting. So, he's not even in the and then he's, talking about how Nate's bigger. Nate's not that much bigger than Conor. If it's by most, it's 5 pounds, maybe. I don't even think it is 5 pounds, but if it is, and Conor's saying now he's bigger, well, what about Conor? Well, Conor's at 45. I mean, Aldo's big, and he's way bigger than Aldo. Frankie, is probably a 35er. He walks around 58, so he's got 15 pounds on Frankie. So, I mean, he's whining about, throwing in about the size. I mean, Frankie's 15 pounds less than McGregor, and Frankie was champion. So, I think it's the other way. And then after the fight, he said, I don't know if I'm going to fight. I don't know yet if Frankie's kind of worthy of fighting me. I think it's the other way around. I don't think Conor's worthy of fighting Frankie. I really don't. And I think from that fight, we know why. Conor doesn't want to fight Frankie, and why the UFC doesn't want Conor to fight Frankie. I mean, this guy gasses out, and Frankie would just maul this kid, standing or whatever. Frankie's not afraid to throw. He's got movement. There's a lot of things that Conor does to other fighters he would not be able to do with Frankie.
Right, I agree. And I think the best point you made there was the one that, it's a convenient argument for Conor McGregor when he loses, saying that he fought a bigger man. But like you said, he's the bigger man in all his other fights, and he doesn't really, he'll say it, but he doesn't use it necessarily as an excuse as to why they lost. You know what I'm saying? He says, oh, yeah, he's...
I think he kind of said it yesterday. I think he kind of used it a little bit yesterday. I went up 2 weight classes. Come on, pal. You didn't go up 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
You fought a 55er. And the only reason you fought at 170 is because Nate had 1 week. He didn't have 2 weeks. He had 1 week because the last week, you're just hitting pads light in the hotel. So Nate really only had 1 week. Nate wasn't even able to spar. I mean, so Nate, it's tough to make that cut. If you asked Conor to cut down to 45 in 2 weeks, you think it would have been a 45? It surely wouldn't have been a 45. It's the same thing. Like Conor walks around 175. It's a joke. And he walks around, maybe minimum 173. I think even when he was fighting Aldo, supposedly the first time, who was he? He was a few weeks away from the fight, and Chael Sonnen asked him what you weigh. He said 172, which I'm sure he went on the low end saying it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're a few weeks away from the fight, you're 172. What are you? 175, 180. So, and that's what I'm saying. People this weekend were saying how amazing that Conor is fighting, going up and fighting these guys. Well, Frankie's 15 pounds less than Conor, and Frankie was the 155-pound champion. So people need to get that in their heads when they talk about this awesomeness of Conor McGregor. Well, Frankie already did it, and Frankie was the champion at 55. So if Conor is this amazing guy that went to 55 and got crushed in 2 rounds, then Frankie must be the best fighter that ever walked on the planet.
It makes a lot of sense.
If we're using that Conor measurement with everybody's
right.
using and all the sports writers and Conor out of his own mouth, out of his delusional mouth, of what makes him so great, of being able to, like he's going 170, Cal, you need to get past your first 55er,
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and have fun. Go ahead and have fun with Khabib. Go ahead and have fun with Dos Anjos. Or take a head kick from Edson Barboza, And how about Ferguson? If he's going to be able to be around for three rounds with Ferguson with his rapid pace.
That's true, yeah. You're absolutely right. I hadn't looked at it that way about him jumping up. Yeah, he effectively fought a 55er. All right, so I want to get into some more of the coaching questions. So let's talk a little bit about your history. I read you were an Army vet, so let me tell you, obviously, thank you for your service. You boxed for the Army. You met Frankie Edgar sort of through. He coached your son Pino. Is that correct?
No, Frankie's coach when he was a kid. Steve. He's friends with my family. He's friends with my family. He has an amazing wrestling school. In fact, his son just won the states today. And Steve has this wrestling school. And Frankie was a kid he used to go to. So my son was doing wrestling over at Steve's, and Frankie was just starting his career, his MMA career. And Steve asked me if kind of hold pads for Frankie. And I really didn't know anything about MMA, and I kind of just wanted to watch my son. He was kind of just starting over at Steve's, and I think he was like 7 or something like that. And so I'm like, I just kind of want to watch my son. And then they asked me a couple more times, and I'm like, all right, my son's been there a little while, about a month, and I'm here anyway, and I help patch for him, and. I was like, I think he could be really good, and he was really raw then. It's funny too. Like the first time we were hitting pads, some of the wrestling fathers were kind of cracking jokes, and it's funny because Frankie never hit pads up to that point, but now, he's just unbelievable. I think he has the best striking in MMA in my opinion, but boxing wise, anything wise, but an MMA fight, I think he mixes everything extremely well, but. He's just amazing, learning. At the time, I was like, well, whoever coaches him is going to be lucky. This kid's got speed, he's got power, he's so smart, but I kind of, didn't think I was going to be, didn't kind of want to coach him. It just wound up happening when we hooked up again, and then we were only hooking up, I think, once a week, and then he lost to Maynard, and that's when I kind of got upset and. They lost, and I told him, listen, we need to get together more, and I'll be with you at Spar. And from the Maynard loss, we both got max. We both really like to compete. Ever since then, we've been together. So pretty much his first pro fight, his first legal pro fight, was an illegal fight in New York. So his first legal fight, which was the next fight, we've been together since. So I think it's over 10 years.
So, and I wanted to get to this a little bit later, but we'll talk, because I want to talk about your transitioning from a boxing guy into a full stand-up striking coach. But I want to talk about Frankie, because I asked him this when I saw you guys in California, and he kind of, the kind of guy Frankie is, he kind of just said, I just go in there and try and do my thing. But I said to him, I think that Frankie's a little bit underrated in the sense that people don't really understand his complete game. The boxing, transitioning to the wrestling, and vice versa. Can you talk a little bit about really what Frankie's doing and how it sort of is laying the template for how guys are going to fight? I mean, he's part of that movement, quote unquote movement.
Yeah.
So talk about Frankie's game and how it's underrated and what you see in it.
Well, Frankie's, realistically, like Dominic Cruz walks around 160. Our world champion, WSOF, Marlon Moraes, walks around 160. Frankie's a little smaller than Marlon. He's probably 158. So, Frankie in today's MMA is really a 35 or so. When I was with Frankie, he was fighting 55, and guys like, Maynard, who are like 185, walking around, and, Henderson, who's a big guy, I had to come up where I didn't want Frankie to stand in front of guys swinging, so I came up with a lot of movement for him, feints and movement and, setting up shots and things of that nature. In fact, I remember a while ago with Frankie, when we were still in the beginning, when we were about to play BJ, I said, did you work, your punches for shots? And he's, at wrestling today, he's like, Mark, the wrestling guys don't know how to throw punches. They don't know anything. I said, well, did you work wall work, against the wall? He goes, Mark, think about it. Are there walls in a wrestling match? I'm like, dang. So that's when I'm like, I started trying to learn everything on my own and try to become more of an MMA guy, then got into kicks. And then, Edson and Marlon came here, and, we hooked up with their coach, Anderson Franca, who comes for every fight. He'll come for like the last month or 3 weeks before we have a fight. So I learned a lot from Anderson in the kick game. So I tried to be, more of an MMA coach and working, combos, even clinch and things of that nature, and heading off the clinch and setting up fake shots to punches or combos to shots, or mixing up, punches to fake shots to combos to shots, trying to, put everything together. And I was like, man, gotta start learning this stuff. And, Frankie, and, asking Frankie different wrestling questions and this and that, we kind of is a work in progress of, us and some of the other guys just all working together. And Frankie's such an amazing guy, and he's our captain, and just an example he is to everybody. He makes you wanna really try your hardest for him, and he's like a little brother to me. So for me, I try to do anything I could, because I just want to see this kid win 3 titles, because I just really believe he could do it, and get the hardest one done, the heaviest weight one. So, and I think he's improved so much in the last 2 years, which really gives me confidence, and that he could definitely accomplish it. Even look at his last 5 fights, he has 3 finishes, 3 different ways, and that shows you what a complete MMA fighter he is. He knocked out Mendez with punches, he stopped BJ with ground and pound, and he subbed out Cub Swanson. So, he shows his diversity in how he's a total package of MMA, and not every fighter is like that, as you could see an example of last night.
Yeah, I agree. He's the complete package, and I hope that someday, somebody, and maybe it'll be me, can really put together a package that shows the MMA fans truly what Frankie brings to the table and how important he is to the future of MMA. Studying Frankie Edgar will make a much more complete MMA fighter. So, okay.
Yeah. And the last thing, too, is I just want to say, just from this weekend alone of what everybody was portraying Conor as, this awesome fighter that could go up to 55, and how great of a feat that is. I hope that people look at that and see that what Conor attempted to do and failed and didn't even fight the champ, which, could have even been worse on him, to be that Frankie did it. And not only did he do it, he did it 15 pounds less than Conor. So, I think that, from this great moment we had over the weekend of everybody put Conor on this huge pedestal of saying that he could be this 2-division champ and a 3-division. Now, 3-division is totally out of the question. But people thought, too, he couldn't even do that. And to realize, Frankie already did it. Frankie already went way above of what his weight is. If you want to talk about true pound for pound, guys that compete in 3 different weight classes and dominate and be relevant in different weight classes. Like, he's not even Connor's not even relevant at 55. He couldn't beat the first guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Frankie was the champ. Frankie was the champion. He's also ranked number 1 in a different weight class. That
Yeah.
goes to show you what Frankie could do in different weight classes. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a path, and I want to get to some more coaching questions to you, but there's definitely a path for Frankie to have, like you said, already have conquered the heaviest weight. If they would have given him Conor the fight by now and he wins it, okay, so that's 2, and then you put him up against Dominic Cruz. I mean, that's a pretty interesting career. I mean, that's one of the best careers in MMA history. All right, so
Yep.
at this point, you've sort of transitioned from we'll call a discipline coach, as a boxing coach, to a bona fide head coach. I mean, you're Cory Anderson's, and I'm not sure if that's how you guys sort of run it, but would you say you're a head coach, correct?
No, we all work together. But I'll pretty much come up with, like, especially for Frankie, I'll come up with like I'll come up with the scheduling, and for the camp, you know, like, say it's a 10, 12-week camp, I'll come up with trying to, you know, but everybody works together. Like Ali, his manager's phenomenal, would help me get sparring partners, you know, and but I'll come out with a schedule and the specifics of what we need to do. And Ricardo and I have been together and worked phenomenally well together, and you know, and we always run off other things. And now we have Anderson Franca in the mix. You know, Espen Mall's Muay Thai coach that comes down for the fights, and he's so great. And that's the thing too. I think we're just so great, our team, and that everybody works together. Like, some of these teams, one guy can't talk to the other. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, the strength and conditioning coach doesn't want to hear it, you know, but our strength and conditioning coach, Brian Blue, and Chris LaGuardia, who's also, you know, who started with Frankie in MMA. He was running combat champion, and you know, he's one of the coaches in the corner with us, and he's Frankie's, you know, main sparring partner in every single fight that he's had, and you know, we all really work well together. And it's mainly because we all love Frankie and what Frankie does for the team around him. Like, Frankie fought Mendez, and that Monday he was helping out. He was at the gym helping out Marlon get ready for his fight that Monday, and every day he was helping out Marlon. So Marlon had his fight, a few weeks after his, or a month after, I believe it was. But you know, Frankie is an amazing. You know, we call him our captain, but you know, he's just an amazing friend and amazing teammate. So you know, but we all really work together. But I'll kind of come up with, like, the game plan and whatnot, and make up, you know, every fight we come up with new codes and a new language, and you know, one time it's Japanese, next time it's Korean, another time it's Creole, you know, another time, you know, it's something else. But you know, we come with a different code for the camp, come up with, you know, going over the tape, just stuff like that. I'm like, I'll do a lot of tape with Frankie and go over a lot of his sparring also, tape of sparring. So you know, we try to give each guy that we have a lot of attention.
Okay, good. Yeah, and so that kind of throws the opponents off a little bit, and kind of the codes and all that. Which I want to touch on that here in a sec. I got a question lined up for that specifically, but I want to talk to you real quick about religion. I read something that religion is important to you, and I want to talk about that in the framework of being a coach. And my question is, have you ever trained anybody who didn't share your religious conviction? Is that an issue? How do you work around that?
Yeah, definitely. Timur Val, he just fought in WSOF. He's a Muslim, and man, I love this kid. Such a great kid. The whole team loves him to death. This kid, you know, and you know, he's Muslim, and you know, we love him to death. You know, and at times, you know, we pray all the time. You know, especially when guys, you know, have on their last day of fight, we all get in the octagon. If you go on my Instagram, you can see a ton of pictures. You know, if they want to come and join in with the prayer, they can. And if they don't, you know, if they don't want to, you know, then they don't. But you know, we love when they do. You know what I'm saying? But you know, we always pray for the fighters, and you know, and you know, the camp and the fight coming up, and thankful for even the gyms that we had, Nicatones and Ricardo's and the Henzo Gracie family that we're all part of. And, you know, God's definitely, you know, the most important thing in my life. So, you know, if you love something more than anything, like, you know, you love a football team or you love your kids, you talk about it. So, you know, I love the Lord. So one thing that you're always going to hear out of my mouth, you know.
I can definitely appreciate that. Let's talk about the selection process. I read something where you had said that not everybody's a perfect fit. So when now that you're becoming a little bit more of a commodity as a coach and your name's being kind of thrown around, I mean, you've been on the scene for a while. Everybody knows you're great for a while, but now it seems like you kind of are a go-to kind of guy. And when you and I talked, you said you like to keep a low profile, and I can respect that. But how does the selection process go with who seeks you out, who you want to train, and how's it received on the other end when you're like, you know what, maybe this isn't a good fit?
Oh well, first of all, like if it's like a Hensel Gracie type type person, that kind of like family type person, that we like. I'm doing Chris Wyman right now, and Chris is a Henzo guy. Is Matt Serra is a black belt under him. Chris is coming to my house tomorrow. He's going to stay overnight. He's playing on Mondays, and I go up there, and like him and Longo and Matt, like they're like family to us. They're all in the Gracie family. So it's like, people, are like, oh, you're training Chris now. Like, well, we've always been kind of the same, kind of the same family anyway. You know what I'm saying? We all of us, are Jersey, New York people, and we get along phenomenal. So it's like, like something like that just clicks so easy. Or I did Rashad one time. Rashad was a guy I always wanted to train, and I would always talk to him and have some laughs at the fights, and we'd always be talking. And we wound up hooking up. He stayed in my house for a little bit, and then I went to Florida, and I cornered him for the Chael Sonnen fight. And I just always, if there's anybody I wanted to do, it was him. So I did that. I really don't want to train with anybody, but I kind of did Rashad, and worked out awesome. Did phenomenal with Chael. But I just have to be. It's easier if you're a Hensel Gracie part of the Hensel Gracie family. It's easier. But I'm really trying. Like Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez isn't a Hensel Gracie guy, but we've trained with Eddie for 10 years. Eddie helped Frankie get his UFC belt. Frankie helped Eddie get his Bellator belt. Like, these guys are like main sparring partners. Like, we go up to Philly, Eddie come up to Ricardo's, and now Eddie, with his kids and stuff, he wants to stay in the Philly area and left the Black Thulians, and he asked us like 7 weeks before the Pettis fight to join our team. So like Eddie, we've known Eddie for 10 years, and he's he's helped Frankie, and Frankie's helped them to both get to where they are. Cory, everybody's kind of a different story. Like Cory was on the show, so we were with him for 8 weeks, so we kind of felt like, like he's, we're kind of responsible for him. You know what I'm saying? And he asked, we got along. I got along really good with him. Everybody on the team got along great with him. He was our first pick, and he asked if he can move down. We said, we kind of felt responsible for him, and just sure, come down, but. It's a little bit past its limit now, man. Like, really don't want to train anybody else. But, I own a business too, and Ricardo owns a business, and we just, our main thing is we want to try to give each guy the attention that they deserve. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have like 30, 40 people sparring at once, I don't know how in the world you can give everybody attention. So, so I love to watch everybody sparring, and I love to tape everybody sparring, and be able to go, because that's how we kind of progress. We go over the sparring and whatnot, and I write notes and things of that nature. Like, I want to be able to watch tape on an opponent and come up with a great game plan, and write a list of a good solid game plan, and also come up with codes for the fight of what we think combinations that'll work good for their opponent. So, we want to try to give each guy the attention they deserve, and it's watered down, I think, when you have too many guys, but everybody's different. I own a business, so I'm kind of able to do that where I understand, that other people, it's how they make money. So, yeah, the more people you get, that's how you have to make a living if you have a family. So I'm not saying the way I do it's right. I'm saying the way I do it, is the way I like doing it, and it's because, God blessed me with the restaurant that I have, and I'm able to do it.
All right, for the fans, anybody in the New Jersey area, it's Pino's Pizzeria is the name of the restaurant.
Yeah, Pino's Pizza in Woodbridge, New Jersey.
Yes, sir. So, all right, you talked about the codes a couple of times, so I want to get back to that for this reason. From what I understand, you have an affinity or a emotional connection to the game of football. Is that sort of how the code stuff came in? And if not, have you integrated your football mentality or history into coaching MMA?
Yeah, I used to coach kids, and we had some really bright kids and kids that loved the game of football. We had some amazing parents, and when the kids were 10, most teams run like just running formation. Everybody just hand the ball off and run. But I wanted to get have kids have more fun and want to do something different. So I used to run a spread offense. Plus I love competition, and I remember bringing in a guy from Florida to come down and go over. He had a really good spread offense and some good formations and some good screen packages and whatnot. And I learned from him, and then I kind of added on my own, like letting the kids have audibles, or I call some stuff from the sideline, how they'd line up, and we'd have all these different codes, like, say a kid's name is Dominic, or, my son Pino, like anything with P, the ball would be going to him. So if it was, it could be like pineapple 6, and it'd be like a slant route, so, anything beginning with P, or Tristan, anything beginning with T, tomato 4, so we'd have codes. And then at the same time I was training the guys, and I kind of got the idea of doing it into that. So, we started with, I started with Frankie, and, each kid has, so say there's a certain combination we think will work good on a certain opponent. So we'll take like a 4-punch combination, and it's his son's name, and another combination we think working for this fight is his daughter's name. And then if I'll watch the fight, if I called it a lot and you could hear me, then I'll maybe flip around the names, stuff like that. And pretty much, everything is, one through whatever is pretty generic in fighting. So we'll come up with a different language every fight. And it's also good too, because Frankie and I have done so many camps that I could say 3 different languages for 1 or 2 or 3. So if I say 111, I could say it in 3 different languages if I don't know what I mean, because we've been through so many camps.
That's brilliant. I've never heard anything like that. I know people use codes or sort of reverse things. Like they call a code means something else, or they call a combo means something else. But I've never heard it put on that level. You guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot to the Frankie's success. You have a lot to do with it. Obviously, you know that Frankie does as well. But it's a well thought out process that you guys have, and it's obviously paying big dividends. All right, I want to talk a little bit about something that may not affect your fighters necessarily, but it probably affects all fighters. Talk to me a little bit about the emotions of a fight.
Yeah, well, everybody's different. Like, firstly, you have to talk to everybody a little differently. Like Edson's more of a quiet guy, to where you might want to talk a little more, cooler and calmer, to where he's quiet, to where Frankie's a Jersey guy, I'm a Jersey guy, so we'll see Jackson's and then talking about the first 30 seconds to take a breath and whatnot, where that's not our first 30 seconds. Our first 30 seconds is how you see your mother and your father talking. Like Frankie's mother and father talking. Like, what are you doing? Da, da, da. Not so much yelling, but it's like, we're emotional. We're from Jersey, so we're kind of, I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but that's the way we're so used to it. We're definitely, Jersey people, and we're full of emotion, like Jersey Shore. So you know what I'm saying. So you'll get a lot of that in our corner. Things like that.
All right, Coach.
But everybody's pretty much different, though. You have to. When you know your fighter, certain things. Like certain things you could say about certain fighters, you could talk about their kid. Like the last fight. Going to the 3rd round with Eddie, and I thought it was 1-1. I think Eddie's kids were at his fight maybe for the first time, if I think I'm right. And when I go to Eddie going to the 3rd round, I said, "You have to win this round." And I said, "Your kids are right over there watching you." So. Eddie's kind of, he's a Philly guy, which is almost the same as a Jersey guy. So, you kind of try to find the right switch, or you talk about, another, a moment that maybe happened in another fight. Remember this certain fight where where you lost because of that. Maybe you didn't go out hard the last third. You want that to happen again. You know what I'm saying? To where, there's different ways that you want to touch different fighters.
All right, Coach, and I appreciate the time. I'll get you out of here with two more questions, real quick. So let's talk a little bit about logistics, and you don't have to get into the weeds with this. You can just tell me just overall, how long of a fight camp do you like to run, and kind of break the not the weeks that like during the week. I mean, what's a rest day? Do you have like a good just kind of a little bit? Take me through just a week.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Sundays usually. You mean the guys schedule?
Yeah. So how long is the fight week? Like if you had your ideal training camp, how long would it be?
Yeah, my ideal training camp is a 5-round fight. Definitely 12 weeks. Because it's really 11 weeks. Because the last week you're at the hotel, and it's just something always happens, man. I was talking to Faraz this weekend, and Faraz has the same exact mentality that I have. Like there is no training camp. It should be an all-year-round training camp, especially if you're in the UFC, because you can take a fight at any moment that could change your whole career. Like look at Nate Diaz. Nate trains all year round. Like look at how that just changed Nate's whole life. You know what I'm saying? And the money that he made, and now how is Nate Diaz looked today? Looked upon today. Like he is the hottest thing. There's nothing hotter than Nate Diaz right now in all of MMA. And that's because Nate Diaz trains all year round, and that's what that's what he talked about after the fight. And that's what Frankie, that's what I like to do. I can't make every fighter do that, even though I love to. But that's how Frankie and I have always been from day one. It's all year round. But you can't kill a guy, especially with sparring. If the guy's not in camp, like I'll maybe have Frankie do like maybe 2 rounds. One time, we spar 3 times a week, so maybe spar 2 rounds one day, 2 rounds another day, just to stay sharp. And then when he has the camp, we'll start getting. But I like 12-week camps for a 5-round fight. I like 10-week camps for a 3-round fight. And just being able to gauge, kind of going up and around and then coming back down and peaking the right way in that. Maybe taking a day off and speed agility. You know what I'm saying? Usually the guys do 3, maybe knocking one off or doing every other, coming near the end of it. And jiu-jitsu twice a week with Ricardo, who's phenomenal. And kicks, with Anderson when he's here, or some of our other guys. Frank Perez helps a lot of guys with the kicks. So getting like 1 kick day. I'm with the guys twice a week, and I'm sparring 3 times a week. And Sunday is our day off for everybody.
All right, so final question. This is something I try and ask as many coaches as I can. What do you think the key to being a successful coach/trainer is?
Well, I think first of all, I think coaches get too much credit. It's nice stuff that you're saying to me, but you're only as good as the horses. I could have a Hyundai, you could have a Lamborghini. You could treat your Lamborghini like garbage. I could treat mine phenomenal. I could wash it every day. I could change the oils, and you still have a Lamborghini. You're still gonna, when we race, you're gonna beat me. I think it's just being smart enough to take a Lamborghini and not put it on the dirt, keep it on the pavement. But you can't. Everybody's not a Frankie Edgar. Everybody. A lot of Frankie's deal with the love I have for the kid, and we work so hard together. And it's his attitude, his relentlessness, his speed. Not everybody's born with that speed and that tenacity. Even his cardio. I think cardio is a God gift, a gift from God. Like, everybody couldn't be a marathon runner. Like, I think Frankie is gifted with cardio. Like he just has amazing cardio, and so I think coaches like myself get too much credit sometimes, where I think it's the horse you have. if you have a stallion, that's a racing stallion, it's going to be a lot easier, than if you didn't. For me, I love wrestlers. Like if I've heard you wrestle before, my eyes light up. So, I love, wrestlers that have, you know, that's their, how they came up in MMA. And we have guys like Marlon Moraes, who didn't come when he came to us. He was 7-4-1. Now he's won 10 in a row with us. He's 10-0, and he's a guy that kind of I think when he came here, he wasn't so used to the schedule we had, just being next to Frankie all the time, and also the attitude that Frankie and I have had just being with each other. If you're having a rough day, deal with it. Or maybe I need a rest. No, you don't need a rest. You need to work harder. Or my foot's hurt. I'm not going to work out today. No, that's all right. We won't move too much. We'll just, my right hand's hurt. That's okay. We'll just jab. Both my hands hurt. Okay, we'll watch a video. So, that type of mindset, and that I have, and that Frankie has. So it's more than Frankie showing everybody, that type of attitude. And like I'm saying, like if you have a stallion or you have a donkey, it makes it easier.
I agree, Coach. I agree. I will tell you this. I think you're incredibly humble. I think it's part of why you're a success. I will say this: not everybody has Lamborghinis. First off, you've won a lot of races with a lot of different kind of cars, and some people build Lamborghinis. So I think that you are a fantastic coach. You are a huge part of your fighter's success, and I think it's a great testament to who you are that you give the credit to them. So I'm very appreciative of the time. Tell the fans where they can follow you on social media or what you got coming up next out of your gym.
We have next. I think we have next coming up. Caitlin Kagan. She's known as Blonde Fighter. She's an amazing fighter. I believe she's 6-0, and we're really hoping that they make a 125 in the UFC. She's the CCF champion. She's fighting in a few weeks. We just had Max Bohannon just won a Ring of Combat on Friday night. Getting ready for Chris with his June fight. And Rafael Natal has a fight coming up, and Edson Barboza are on the same card on that Cormier card. So we got some great fights coming up, especially this Edson and Pettis one should be amazing. And Rafael, we're excited about him. He's, just got ranked in the top 15. So, a lot of great things happening. And Cory winning and waiting on anticipation to see if Eddie could get this title shot at 155, being ranked number 1, and Frankie getting his, and excited for Chris and Luke. So, a lot of God has really, blessed our team and blessed myself, and got a lot of great fights coming up with some great fighters.
There you have it, guys. The list of fighters that this man heads up is long and illustrious. Frankie Edgar, Marlon Moraes, Edson Barboza, Corey Anderson, Akira Corsani, Tamir Valiev, Rashad Evans, Chris Weidman. He's trained them all, and they owe a huge debt of gratitude to him, as do I. Thanks for your time, Coach, and great success in the future.
Thanks so much, bro. Thanks. You're awesome, man. Can't thank you for having me on, pal.
Have a good day.